Any person other than the applicant wishing to speak before either committee must fill out a registration slip found outside either door. They can be turned into the committee prior to the start of the hearing. Please be sure to indicate on the slip which application you are interested in. Thank you.
You take a lot of abuse from the back row.
I don't care. I've been abused by bigger and better looking guys than you guys. All the time, yeah. Just because I'm little, they pick on me. What's that? Did we get that on the loudspeaker? Huh. Those become part of the minutes of the meeting.
That's right.
Yeah, are you ready?
We'll call this meeting of Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to myself or the secretary. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct its monthly meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave. The applicant and the town board will be contacted about tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of any decision can sign the sheet at the front of the room. Those wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is, after the application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will have a maximum of 10 minutes to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Anyone objecting, though, then will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. I will then ask for staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes for a rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone at the front of the room, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located. Tonight's hearing will be videotaped and the tapes will become part of the record. Comments that are based on rumors, hearsay, secondhand information, as well as racial or other prejudicial remarks will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeal shall be heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information is available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I'll introduce the rest of the board. To my left are Fred Gellerup, Bob Maloney, Jim Warwick, and George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner. Mark Schumacher is seated at my right. First variance to be considered tonight, Robert E. and Donna R. Bant, Manitowoc, Wisconsin, have made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 6 by 36 foot single-story addition and a 22 foot by 36 and a 8 by 16 foot L-shaped second-story addition and a 8 by 20 foot second-story deck to an existing single-family dwelling, cumulative improvements exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming dwelling, non-conforming due to the ordinary high water mark and state highway setbacks in the RS-20 zone within the shoreland area. Location of parcel of land being part of government lots 2 and 3, being part of the northwest 1/4, the southwest 1/4, and part of the southwest 1/4, the northwest 1/4, section 6, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, W, 7257 State Road 21. Is the applicant present? Come forward, please. State your name for the record.
I'm Bob Bant, my wife Donna.
Okay, Bob. The board was out and looked at the property. We've just got some general questions. Have you had a recent survey done, is that correct?
Yes, we did. Pat Creer did it.
And you're sure of the lot line locations? Okay. Basically, this is a deck over the existing patio and a 36 by 6 addition toward the road and a second story above an existing home, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The additions or improvements will not be any closer to the road or any closer to the lake.
The additions would be 6 feet closer if we get the variance, right where the garage is now, from that point heading south.
You're gonna square it off, in other
Yeah.
words. So it's no
It's
closer
no
to-
closer.
than the existing garage.
Right.
Okay. What type of foundation or will the additions towards the road have? Is that,
That would be, according to John Trailer, the builder, that would be a 4-foot concrete piling or support going around to the base of that addition.
okay. Do you think you'll have to take down any of those trees or just trim them
Probably
back?
trim back a branch or two. That's about it.
So it will be kind of hidden from the road or
Oh,
with
yeah.
the trees?
Yeah. The trees have been trimmed by the people with the high wire lines there a
Okay.
number of times.
Finished height will be the same as what you have now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. According to your site plan, this is gonna be a pretty good-sized house and very close to the water on a small lot. Any plans or anything you can do to help screen it from the water side?
Basically, we're going up over the old cabin. We've had this lake home since 2000, and over the years, we found out that it's not very energy efficient. The old cabin was on the Fox River near Eureka before it was moved to the lake, and the walls are pretty much paper thin. I don't think there's any insulation there. And so we talked to John Trailer and got his recommendations about what we could do. We'd like to upgrade the house so that when I'm ready to retire, that we could have that as a retirement home. And basically, that's the reason we're doing this.
I know we don't like to get into color schemes and whatnot, but, you know, kind of a neutral color probably would lessen the outstandingness of it on the,
Oh, that would be no problem, sure. I mean,
Same color as it is.
And there's not enough room between the the home and the top of the lakeshore protection to do any sort of trees or anything. There's only about 10 feet
Right.
there. So you really can't screen it from the lake with any vegetation of anything. It's just a matter of trying to make it blend in as best you can.
That's why we're trying to make it mirror the side that's already there.
Right.
We want it to look
we've planted some bushes there and trying to make it as nice as possible.
Sure.
no changes to the driveway or anything?
No, none
And
planned.
when are you looking at construction out there?
John said he's not busy. He could start as soon as he can get the permits.
Any other committee questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Correspondence?
We have 3 letters from area landowners. All of them are in support of the variance, and I'll read those into the record. The first letter is from Don and Nancy Mays, M-A-E-S, at W7269 State Road 21, addressed to the Waushara County Board of Adjustments. Don and Nancy Mays, immediate neighbors to the west of the Bant property, are completely in agreement with the variance applied for by Robert and Donna Bant. The remodel will not only enhance their property but adjoining homes as well. It is always great to see people improving the value of their property rather than letting things fall apart, as we have witnessed on the lake before. Please allow Bob and Donna to proceed as they intend. We think it sounds great. The second letter is from Charles and Mary Plock at 2106 State Road 73, also in favor, addressed to the Board of Adjustments. We would have absolutely no objection to the improvement of Bob Bant would like to make on his home on Silver Lake. We feel it would enhance the property value. We live across the lake from the Bants and feel it would make their home very attractive. Sincerely, Charles and Mary Plock. Excuse me. And the final letter is from James W. Schrader, N 2234 19th Road, Watoma. And also in favor, it says, Dear Board of Adjustments, my wife Janet and I live 2 houses southwest of the Robert and Donna Bant property on Silver Lake. We understand that the Bant family wishes to build an addition to their home that would require a 6-foot variance on Highway 21 side of the property. In looking at the site, we foresee no problems if this variance is granted. There would be no obstruction of vision for travelers along Highway 21. The value of the property and therefore the tax base would be increased substantially, generating revenue for Waushara County and helping offset the eyesore of the Ron Matola property next to them. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, James W. Schrader. And that is all the correspondence we have.
No one registered in favor or objecting. Staff comments?
For the record, the Board of Adjustments has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this and the other applications that will be considered tonight. Regarding all the variances, the applicant, not the board, has to prove tonight that the zoning code is unnecessarily burdensome, there are unique physical features or property limitations, and that an approval would not harm the public or the neighbors. This property is served by municipal sewer. The property was granted a variance for a garage and the living above the garage back in 1976. This proposal is very similar to many, many other projects that we've had, not only on Silver Lake, but a lot of lakes, excuse me, where a seasonal home is eventually converted into a year-round home. And this type of thing is very, very common. The only concern that I would have, and it certainly is not an objection, but it's an observation, is that some of these taller buildings on lakes that are very close to the water, if they're not aesthetically designed and architecturally conscious of the aesthetic impacts, they can have a visual impact on the water. We've got a couple structures on Silver Lake that people comment to us all the time that even though those structures didn't require a variance, visually they stick out on the water. So the Board of Adjustments not only needs to look at things like water quality and the environment, but we also need to look at the visual impacts. And if the people are conscientious and design their home properly and take that into consideration, I think there's an opportunity here to reduce that impact on the water, and that's certainly something that they should be encouraged to do. When the board visited the property, they noted there are no other non-conforming structures. As the applicant said, they also noted that the addition would not be any closer to the lake or the road than the existing structures. The impervious surfaces would be increased a little bit. There, as we mentioned, appears to be no room between the building site and the water for any sort of vegetation that would help screen it. The one suggestion that I could have from a water quality standpoint is the construction could be designed with gutters and downspouts and below-grade stormwater absorption that would help reduce the runoff from the project on the lake, and that is something that is looked at fairly commonly, and particularly in this situation where we can't offset the impacts because there's no room for vegetation. Another really good alternative is to take that stormwater, dispose of it properly so that it doesn't end up in the lake, and that would help offset the impacts of the project. So other than that, I think everything's been considered. Those would be my comments.
Okay, the next variance to be considered, Robert and Susan Merriam, Neenah, Wisconsin, have made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct an irregularly shaped 30-foot by 72-foot two-story single-family dwelling on a basement, existing single-family dwelling and boathouse to be raised, coming to within 7 feet of the northwesterly side lot line and 12 feet of the southeasterly side lot line, 15-foot setback required in the RS-20 zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land known as the north one-half of Lot 18 of Pine Beach Plat, being part of the northeast one quarter, the northwest one quarter, Section 8, Town of Marion, Silver Lake, N 2031 North Silver Lake Road. Would you state your name for the record, please?
I'm Bob Merriman, this is my wife Susan.
Okay. Quite a project you're undertaking?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Should be a good improvement, though.
I hope so.
You had a plat of survey done in 2008, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're sure of all the lot lines?
Yes.
The existing home and structure near the water will both be raised?
The garage would be eventually raised also, but we'll do that within the zoning.
Ordinance.
Within a year or two?
We just are keeping that garage there for construction, so the builder can keep it.
So normally if a variance is granted, the variance is good for a year. You'd have a year to get your permit, and then your permit would be good for another year. Would that be enough time?
Yes,
for
we're
the
planning
garage.
to start construction this spring.
So basically what you're saying is you need that garage by the road until you're done?
Yes.
And then you're gonna get rid of it? Okay,
And we'll build a garage that is within your zoning ordinance. We're not
great,
Okay.
putting
Requiring
that,
a waiver for the
sure.
garage.
Sounds good.
According to the site plan, you're gonna be a story and a half building, is that correct? No walkout basement, though?
No,
Okay. How do you plan on dealing with the erosion and stormwater runoff during construction and?
plan to put the do whatever. We met with the DNR once after we bought the property. And we talked to them about even taking down that building on the water, which they would like us to take down. And we went over what they thought we needed to do then. We would be again meeting with them to make sure that we did everything within what they would require us to do. And, what you would, I'm sure we're gonna have to put plastic around
Sure.
it or something.
Silt fence,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have any idea where you're going to put the house as far as elevation? Are you gonna be bringing in a lot of fill or pretty
No.
close to what you have there?
The elevation that's there now is gonna be pretty much what we will have when we're done. The lake side of the house will extend a little bit further towards the lake than the current building, so there might be a little dirt that will be pushed up against the foundation there. But basically, it's not, the elevation doesn't change a lot until you get a little further down.
But the screen porch, I don't know when you visited, you saw those stakes.
Mhm.
It's like about halfway, up that yellow house. It'll be about the same elevation as the house, the newer house next to us. It's gonna be in line with that.
Sure.
That's up a little too.
Yeah.
I
Do
don't
you-
wanna lead you, that's not gonna be up at all, because
Yeah.
it'll have to be to,
The only reason we ask these questions is because we've had people that,
yeah.
do a full basement and do 8 feet of fill, and all of a sudden the neighbors get flooded out. You're going to be about the same elevation as your neighbors to the northwest.
Yes.
And that's
right.
kind of where we took it off of, where we would
Right.
come back to, roughly, I think we're 160 feet off the high water mark, and that's kind of what we figured out. In the snow, it's a little hard to tell, but
Yeah. And you're well back from the lake, like 100+ feet or something,
we're
aren't
at
you?
like 106, and we kind of kept it back for our neighbors, so we talked to them.
Yep.
Do you know what the finished height of the new home will be about?
On that.
It's going to be well under 35 feet,
Yeah,
right?
we
Okay.
measured
Yeah.
it when we were there. Yes, it's probably, it has, and they discussed that when I had it in there, it has that little cupola on it, but it's just like a story.
Story and a half.
And
yeah.
that was well within the 35 feet.
Sure.
The site plan shows a sewer lateral on the south side. Is that going to cause you any problems with construction, or have you talked to the sewer district about it? Or?
Well, we haven't talked to them
Yes,
specifically.
I have.
You have, she has.
I talked to them twice, and there's still a question if we're going to keep that other sewer lateral. They said that they're willing to work with us on that.
Okay.
We also have another sewer lateral that goes down to that home that we're going to, I don't know what you want to call it. It's kind of a home.
Kind of a home, yeah, it's,
I mean, it's not a finished home, but, I mean,
Yep.
we bought it, it was just like that. We haven't
Right.
done anything to it. But there is another sewer lateral down there. We're not sure if we're gonna keep that one. When I met with the DNR, they said, you know, we can keep it because it's there, but we don't know about the laterals. I mean, Silver Lake Sanitary District, we have talked to them. They sent me a map of where everything is. Basically, we've gotta work with them.
You've also got plans for a new boathouse down there then, is that correct?
Well, we haven't put anything together till we got this, I mean, we're gonna do it within your
Okay.
restrictions. We're not
Not
asking,
gonna do it exactly at the same time as the home then?
No.
well, we should say we don't know.
but, you know, when you build the boathouse, it's gonna be
It'll be
conforming
conforming.
and you don't need a variance,
Not
and
variance, so we didn't
same
do
with the garage on the road.
Right.
Yep.
That, you're right. Thank you, Mark.
All other setbacks are gonna be met except the side lot? Okay. And what are you looking at, spring construction, you said?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Just for general information, because of the snow, does that second home down at the lake, does that have a slab, or is it built on
No, it's just built on concrete block.
concrete blocks? Okay.
We did talk to the DNR about when we take that out of there. I mean, we're not just gonna take it out of there without talking to them because we've talked to them about some things here.
Sure.
We've talked to Mark about that too, so, I do have, I received it today, an email from our neighbors to the south, and, I didn't know that this was how it was gonna be conducted, so I'm sorry, I didn't make copies, but this is from Mr.
If you wanna
Kelly.
give it to Mark, he'll read it into the record then, and,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that, well, there's a lot of other stuff in here.
oh,
I don't know.
Well-
He just said, it just says good luck with the zoning hearing.
I don't wanna read something I'm not supposed to.
I don't know if you want to read it.
Now he's curious.
Okay.
About that. We're willing. He
Okay.
just says that he's in it.
Sure, okay.
And we did talk to our other neighbors and told them if they had any questions it is a bit of a problem because our lot now to the north, that house is almost on the lot,
Right.
on the lot line. And then our neighbors to the south are almost on our lot line, so. But we
Okay.
tried to keep it back, so we didn't,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
read it into the record then, and you can have it back.
Sure.
Okay, correspondence?
Just the email that they mentioned, and that's from is it the neighbor to the south? Is this from the neighbor to the south? Okay. Michael J. Kelly, and basically it says, good luck with the zoning hearing. Feel free to use this email as evidence of our support if helpful. So it's verification of their support. Before you leave, you can take this with you. And that's all the correspondence.
No one registered, staff comments?
As noted, the property is connected to municipal sewer. When the board visited the property, they noted that both structures will be raised, both cottages. The construction of the new home will be further from the north lot line than the existing cottage. All the water setbacks will be met, and that there's good vegetation between the building site and the water. This is the type of application that's kind of a win-win situation here where the neighbors are pleased because they end up with a better structure. We get a non-conforming structure off the water, and we end up with a nice building that meets all the water setbacks. So I think it's a good application, and it was a pleasure working with the applicants, and I think it's a nice project. So I don't think there's anything else. That's all I would have.
Okay. Next variance to be considered, John Sheridan, Geneva, Illinois, has made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph B, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to remodel the entire first floor of an existing 26 by 36 single-family dwelling and construct a 26 by 36 second-story addition and a 6 by 30-foot deck and a single-story 8 by 10-foot enclosed side entry. Cumulative improvements exceeding 50% of the equalized assessed value of an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming due to road and side lot setbacks in the RS-20 single-family residential zone within the shoreline area. Location, a .340 acre parcel of land being lots 1 and 2 and part of lot 3 of the interlake lots of Deer Ridge subdivision, now known as Lot 2 of Certified Survey Map 4286, being part of the southwest one quarter of the southeast one quarter, Section 8, Town of Marion, N 1785 Cree Avenue. Would you state your name for the record, please?
John Sheridan.
And Sue Sheridan.
Okay. Just a few questions then. You had a survey done in 2000, is that correct? You're sure of all the lot lines?
Previous owner did, yes.
Okay. Have you considered any other options out there, or?
We looked at other options, but due to the slope of the land, this is the best feasible way to use the property. It's a Lakeview property overlooking Little Hills Lake. And if we were to move the structure further back and down the hill, we'd lose the Lakeview ability on the property, and we'd go into being on total slope. This is the only flat part of the property. And if we did also move it back, we would have to put a road in and take out the hill that right now is protecting the property from erosion.
And we'd like to keep as many of the trees on the lot as possible intact, and so this allows us not to impact the trees around the property.
Do you plan any changes to the foundation?
Yes, the foundation will have to be upgraded in order to handle the extra weight. The pillars will have to be supported probably with a large center support and more pillars around the outside in order to support the extra weight.
You're not going to put a basement or a wall under it? You're going to?
We are, we've talked to the contractor about putting a block wall. Yes, we have done that, but we hadn't considered a basement under it.
Okay. How do you plan on dealing with erosion and stormwater runoff?
Right now, it's on a hill, so there wouldn't be any erosion or stormwater runoff the way it currently is. If we changed it, we would have erosion and stormwater runoff because of the fact that we'd have to take the hill out and put a road in order to get down to the house. It'd be the only access point. The land, the way it sits now, is above everything. And if we put the house at the bottom, the amount of the hill that would have to be removed in order to get back to the house would hinder the access, the sight line coming out of the property to get into the road, and severely restrict the safe access to the road, as well as people coming down the road, because there is a curve in the road there. So because of the fact that you'd be 3 foot lower sitting in the driveway, and you'd have the hill from the next door neighbor's property, because it is close to their property line, right there, there would be a severe blind spot in coming out into the road. And there's also a ravine on the other side, so that if there was an accident, you'd have the danger of rolling down the ravine.
How much would you have to move back to be with the average setback there?
I believe you'd have to move back about 40 feet, but you're into the largest part of the hill, so if you're going to have to move, excuse me, my mouth is drying. If you move it back, you're going to wind up having to move to the bottom of the hill, and it's a wooded lot, so we'd have to remove the trees, and it's one of the reasons why we bought the property, is to be able to see the lake and have the woods. So if we're going to take away the view of the lake by going to the bottom of the hill and then take the trees out in order to build the house, we've lost everything that we bought the property for. We're going to use it as a retirement property, and these were two of the points of the property.
You're showing the site plan building height a little over 25 feet high, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other improvements planned at this time?
Beyond what we requested, no. We're as far as improvements, we plan on re-siding the roof of the garage and the siding in order to match the house so that everything would match, and it would, right now, I believe, it hasn't been worked on for a long time, so it's kind of an eyesore in the neighborhood. So that it would be a positive effect and it would increase the property values of everybody around us. There are a lot of mature trees that'll have to come down, and this is one of our big considerations, is we don't want to lose them.
Any changes to the driveway planned?
If we can stay where we are, we don't have anything that we're going to be doing.
Okay. Will you be meeting all other setbacks then?
Yes, we're working on the existing plan. The mudroom that we're putting in is on the side of the house, so it's away from the road, and the deck is on the back of the house. So nothing would be any kind of question.
So basically, you're saying the hardship are the location of the power poles, tree removal, steep slopes, driveway location, and inability to see the lake? Is that?
Well, the safety issue, if you have to move the house coming out of that driveway, that is a big issue for us too.
Can you explain to me how safety is going to be compromised? You said safety is an issue if you move it back?
If we're moving the house,
Okay.
we'd have to put a driveway in order to get to the house. And in order to put the driveway in, we'd have to take the hill out. Right now, the house sits on top of a hill, and we're right by the road. So if we take the hill out and put the driveway in, the property next door will sit approximately 4 to 5 feet above the lay of where it would be with the new driveway. So you would not be able to see over the neighbor's property to see the traffic coming down the road, and it's coming around a bend.
What is the speed limit out there, 25?
I believe it's 25. And the other side of the road from where the house is a very steep ravine going down to a lakefront lot. So if there's any kind of, even if there isn't an accident, if they swerve to avoid us, they're going to go down the ravine. And it,
Are you planning on any other projects? You said siding the garage and roofing the garage, so it all ties together.
Right.
Anything else at this time?
we don't have any other things planned, no.
Okay, and if an approval were granted, when would you start construction out there?
Fairly quickly, depending on the availability of contractor.
Do you have a contractor
Yes,
or
we do.
plans drawn up, or?
Yes, we do. We've got, we've already had plans for the house drawn up, and the contractor just ran into the variance, and we had to apply for that.
Okay.
So we're basically just waiting on the acceptance, and I don't know if the contractor had something else that he started while he was waiting. So if he doesn't have anything else started, it'll be almost immediate.
Okay.
Do you park by your garage now?
Yes, sir.
Why wouldn't you stay in?
Because you'd have to park down at the bottom of the hill, so you'd have to have a driveway to get around down to the house. It'd be probably 75 to 100 feet to access the house. And the back part of the lot is a private road serving other houses, so we don't have access to that.
Any other committee questions?
I think mine would be very similar to Jim's here, is that with the snow, we were at the disadvantage. Right now, you have a driveway into your present garage,
Yes.
and that wouldn't need to be changed.
No.
To meet the setbacks, you would move back approximately 20-some feet. If the house moved back to meet the required setback.
We'd have to move
Because
a
it-
little further back than that, I believe, and that puts you into the ravine, so we'd have to go to the bottom of the ravine.
To the back of the lot.
23 feet back would meet the required average setback. So you'd have to move back 23 feet further than the existing cottage. Okay.
You'd be going from 22 to 46, somewhere in there.
45 is the average
45.
setback from the center of the road. And the existing structure is at 22 feet from the center of the road.
And if you went back that additional amount, you'd be right at the ravine there, where it starts a steep slope. So you'd wind up going to the bottom of the ravine in order to be able to build a house on more level ground.
Or add some fill. I mean, this is possibilities.
I believe if you did that and added fill, you'd still be cutting out the hill, and then you're talking about erosion, and you have a lot of houses down at the bottom of the hill that could be impacted by if you have a hard rain, and water's running down the property. Right now, the hill protects everything. And you have all of the trees, the tree roots are holding the ground together so that you don't have the erosion. And if you're going to be removing trees in order to put the house up, you're going to have additional erosion that's going to affect all the property owners around us.
Are the accesses for these other people in your deed?
The accesses are through a private road that runs
Not on your land?
It runs pretty much all the way around.
all the way around the back
Right.
part of the lot, but we don't have that access. So we have to come off of the road.
Not your land?
No, it's not our land.
Okay.
It's their land.
It's a platted private road
Right.
that pretty much goes all the way around the property. Okay?
Okay, if there's no further questions, you can have a chair then. Correspondence?
No correspondence, but in the application, the builder who filed the variance application did indicate that he talked to the Marion Town Chairman, who said the town of Marion had no objections to the proposed remodeling of the house at its present location. That's all the correspondence.
Okay, we have registered to speak in favor, Ray Trayer.
Ray Troyer.
Right.
Mr. and Mrs. Sheridan asked me to help them with the project here, and I did look over the structure, and the existing structure isn't in the greatest shape, so being it's sitting on piers now, and if we remodel it as is, we're going to have an engineer plan drawn up by a licensed engineer. So exactly what he's going to do to the structure, I'm not sure. The 8x10 side entrance there, I would like to go with a concrete footing on it, but there again, I'm going to leave it up to the engineer as to what he calls for that. And moving the house back some, we could do it without cutting out that hill. The safest way to do it for John is going to be to cut out the hill, put a driveway in so that you can enter the street at street level. If we don't cut it out, you're going to be coming up to the street about 4 to 5 feet higher than the street. That's going to give you a sharp incline down entering the street. So the best case scenario would be to cut that down. If you do that, then you have a 4-foot drop off from the neighbor's property into the driveway, which would be about 7 feet from the neighbor's property to the driveway. So it's a safety issue there for the neighbor's property as kids playing or people walking. You could erect a fence or a retaining wall. But the best case scenario would be to leave the house where it is. The road curves in favor of leaving the house where it is. You know, 90% of this structure is going to be replaced. We're going to leave some of the floor joists and the footing, but then again, if the engineer calls for total replacement, that's what we'll do. So the best place for the house would be where it is as far as the lay of the land now. If we move the house back, which is possible, we're gonna have to do some grading, haul in a bunch of fill, and then the sewer line would then be outside the house, but then that's not a big issue. That can be redirected into the new house. But as far as conforming with the look of the neighborhood now, I believe it's going to be the best where it's at. And the second story that's going on it, the house would still be a little bit lower than the neighboring house to the north, but it's not going to obstruct any views, any neighbors' views to the lake, either lake. The house now is sitting kind of between Deer Lake and Little Hills Lake, so it's not going to obstruct any view for any neighbors as far as that goes. And it's also not going to obstruct any views for travelers on the road, so we're just pretty much going straight up with it.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for the contractor? Okay, thanks. We have registered to speak in opposition, Thomas Bone. Would you come forward, please?
I'm also registered, Dr. Vandenboen.
Vanna?
We own the property together. We bought this back in 2000.
Where are you located from?
We're at N1781 Cree Avenue. We're on the bottom on the right, the main driveway coming down to the year-round home that was built by Jeff Cron.
So you're to the south of this property, and you're also on Deer Lake, correct? Yep.
And I would like my father to speak regarding our concerns because he's far more knowledgeable about all this than I am, but we do own the property together, okay?
Thank you.
I oppose once because, it's in violation of code. And to go and add violation, two wrongs don't make a right. But however, when I got up there today and I looked at the property of Mr. Sheridan, approximately 1/3 acre, it all slopes just about right down to our property and our parking lot. And I am very, very concerned of water runoff and soil erosion if he starts running and moving dirt up on the top. And there is dirt that's got to be moved. He's got to dig his end of his house near Cree is buried in the ground. So he's going to have to free that before he can do any work to that house. We have a drain down in our parking lot. It's an 8-inch drain that runs from the parking area out to Deer Lake. It's a PVC pipe. That drain has adequately handled rain runoff and rainfall since we've owned the property. I will say that some of these very heavy rainfall is just about at its peak. We can't really stand any more rainfall into it. The lodge sits right up from us, and it comes right. If you were out there, you noticed how that slope and that slopes down to that no-name county road. That's what I was told it is, a no-name county road. So I don't know what our choices is. If you approve it, then we stand a chance to have a parking lot become Deer Lake number 2 and damage our property. I hear you say that we could go to the circuit court if we don't agree with your decision. Does that mean that we have to go get a lawyer and we take it to court to try to keep our property from being damaged? Our neighbor, at the slightest rainfall, when it rains, right there, well, that's kind of direct behind the house, Mr. Sheridan. It runs through their yard. It's a good little stream running down to Deer Lake. There's there's a lot of water coming off of that hill and down those slopes. And we've been able to handle it. I'm afraid now we won't be able to. So that's why I'm in opposition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Boone. We have registered to speak in opposition, Joseph and Barbara Baldus.
I'm Joe Baldus. We live permanently at 1824 Cree Avenue, which is across the street and the first property to the north of the land in question. And I am opposed because this house, as it's now located, is the closest to the road of any home on Cree Avenue. Others are non-conforming, including our own, because of the hillside going down to Little Hills Lake. But most of us are set back a minimum of 24 feet from the edge of the pavement. I couldn't measure to the property line because of the snow. Ours is set back about 36 feet. The house further to the north on the same side is set back 40 feet. And the only one that's close is the adjacent house, which is the old Frederick's log cabin, and that's 4 feet further set back than the one in question. It seems inappropriate to take the property that is most non-conforming on all of Cree Avenue, that's contiguous from 22nd Street to Silver Lake Road, and develop it as extensively as they propose to develop it. The house is there, and all of us accept that to the best of my knowledge. But the cost of what they propose to do is very disproportional to the value of what's there now. And I just can't see why this should set the standard for encroachment along our road in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. We have appear and speak for information only. David Ebert. That's okay.
First question that comes to my mind is that he's talking about the garage. I assume that's one that's there already. And a driveway, I think, is already there for the existing garage. I can't understand why he's worried about a driveway that has to come around from some other direction. Whatever he's talking about, I don't understand. And I question the location right at the moment, too. To me, it could be moved back about 20 feet or so, and it wouldn't be hardly any different what's there right now. That's my questions.
Okay. No one else registered. Staff comments?
When the board looks at variances, they have to look at hardships that are unique to the property, unique physical characteristics such as shallow or steep properties. What we can't look at is economics. Moving the power poles, doing a little bit more filling and grading are not hardships that justify the granting of a variance. The one unique physical characteristic of the property are the slopes. All the other arguments that were made tonight and in the application and the narrative, which the board got copies of, related to economics, and that's something we cannot consider. So when the board acts on this, they need to take that into consideration. And although, you know, I like to look at a lake as much as anyone, the fact that you can or cannot see the lake again, is not a hardship according to the state standards that can be used in granting of a variance. As I mentioned, the average setback from the center of the road is 45 feet. The existing structure is 22 feet. When the board visited the property, they noted, as was stated, the second story is being planned. The cottage is served, as mentioned, by municipal sewer. They did note that there appears to be ample room to the south to locate off of the side lot line. It might require relocation of the garage, but the garage appears to be in about the same dilapidated shape as the existing cottage. And although there will be additional filling and grading, the board also observed there was adequate room to either relocate the structure or to build new by moving it west. Finally, when it comes to stormwater runoff, 20 years ago, I could probably sit here forever and not have anyone talk about runoff. I mean, a lot of the people here tonight have been here longer than I have, but I've been here 34 years, and way back when I started, nobody cared about runoff, or maybe they cared about it, but there just wasn't that much development. Now it's a daily occurrence, okay? And so, if there would be additional filling and grading, if it would have to be moved back, or even if it was approved and added onto in the same spot, part of the responsibility of the landowner is that they have to not only protect the environment and the water quality, they have to make sure that their project does not adversely affect their neighbors. That's not a zoning law, okay? That's common sense, okay? It's civil. And so although we can make sure during the construction of a project that there's adequate protection with the establishment of silt fence and some of these other practices, it's really common sense in the design so that you can construct a structure that will minimize runoff, and in some cases you can actually plan stormwater management where the runoff is zero, so it would have no effects on the neighbors. And particularly with Mr. Bowen downslope towards Deer Lake, stormwater runoff is a concern. And whether the variance is approved or not, there is some sort of construction that will be allowed on this property, and it's the responsibility of the landowner to make sure that they design the structure in such a manner as to minimize any adverse impacts on the neighbors, particularly those that are downslope. The other point I wanted to make about safety, and I understand the argument of the safety, but the reason we have setbacks from a road is that the central point of every residential lot where you have the most activity, human activity, is the house. And the reason you put a house back a certain distance from the road is that then you take most of that human activity and you move it off the road, so the occupants and the people that spend time on that property have more of a buffer. They have less chance of kids throwing a ball out in the highway and all kinds of stuff, and you have more adequate room to park. So I really feel the safety issue is kind of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I think there's as much, if not more, safety by getting that structure off the road than there is by keeping it in the same location. And I think the board needs to take that into consideration when they act on that there's a safety reason why we have structures distances off the road, and that's actually to protect not only the public, but it's also designed to protect the occupants of the home as well. So those would be the comments I would have, and the applicant would have an opportunity to address some of the concerns that were expressed by the neighbors.
You want to address the concerns by the neighbors? Come on, forward, please.
Well, as I stated before, One of the reasons why I want to keep the house where it is because of the fact that all of the trees would then stay and the hill would stay, so that it would keep the runoff the way it is and would not adversely affect any kind of runoff. No matter what you remove, as far as your trees, you're going to be creating more erosion. Whether it's just rain from properties that are right there, as the other residents stated, they're getting a lot of runoff now. If you have a really bad rain, you're going to have a lot of problems. And I'm trying to, by leaving the structure where it is and just keeping the same structure, and also I'm in the you were talking about trying to move the house back away from the road. The door for the house, the reason why we're putting an 8 by 10 inch pad on the side of the house by the garage is to have the door so that the door will be walking right to the garage and it won't be by the road. So in relationship to that, we aren't having any kind of entrance or walkway or anything by the road. There isn't any problem with plowing or anything like that now. The structure where it is, it's been there for 40 years. It hasn't bothered anybody. The structure is going to be the same size. It's just going to be higher. There won't be any more runoff from the structure. In another area, I don't know what would happen as far as runoff. And I believe that my neighbors would rather have a house where it sits than have it put down in the trees and have a lot of the trees taken away. So instead of looking at trees, they're looking at the house. The structure of the garage is sound. It's not dilapidated. We plan on making the garage and the house look the same. We're spending the money to try and upgrade the house in the area. It's not a consideration about money, whether or not we're going to move the house back or keep the house there. We're trying to do it to keep the aesthetics of what we bought as what we bought, and also have a concern for safety. I know you expressed concern that safety wouldn't be the issue, but the house, if the house was moved back, but if you watch people come driving through there, I believe you'd agree that safety would be an issue, because even though the speed limit is 25, people aren't doing 25 on that road. And moving the house back a little bit isn't going to change that safety concern. I understand that you have an obligation to make sure variances are followed. There probably is a similar reason to why I'm here asking for a variance now, why all these other houses have been put there. The house next door, Mr. Ebert's house, I'm sure he had a variance when he built his house. He also has a driveway that comes up along right to the door of the house, which is what I said I would have to have if I set the house back. His house isn't set back, and he has that driveway that comes right up to the house. So I think the points that I tried to make to the board are valid points, and you know, if we didn't plan on living here after retirement, we wouldn't be so concerned as to how the house looks and how it sits in the neighborhood. We're going to have to live with all our neighbors who probably are people that are retiring. I know the people that spoke here are people that plan on living there for a long time, so we're going to have to live with them and get along with them. And I think if they thought about it a while, they would realize that this would be in their best interest to have it done this way. Excuse me, to have it done this way instead of another way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That closes the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. We'll adjourn to the room directly behind us. Planning and Zoning Committee will meet here for their public hearing. Anyone with a variance is welcome to come in to our business meeting to hear how the vote is taken.
I'm going to give this to Miriam's.
Good job.
I-
We are talking to him about those points of difference.
Oh, okay.
You know, I agree
Good.
that we want to make sure we do everything.
Move them out.
Sure.
Maybe.
Sounds good.
I emailed him today, and he and Bob are going to talk.
That was the best part when she didn't want to let stuff read into the
Yeah.
record.
Next time you talk to the sanitary district, talk to your husband too.
He's never home. You know what? I told him. He just didn't remember.
Told you this place would clear out.
Yeah.
Close the door.
Yeah. Crashed. Mallet there and get him rock and rolling.
I know, right? With
I will call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Board of Adjustments. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration to myself or the secretary. The committee has looked at all of the properties and recorded with reflect their observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct a meeting at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. The first application we have tonight is Quick Supply Company, Des Moines, Iowa, has made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138 and 58-784, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from an AG, General Agricultural, to an MI, Intensified Manufacturing, to conditionally establish an explosive storage depot with a proposed construction of an approximate 50 by 100-foot office shop and related storage buildings and silos. Location, an approximately 280 feet north and south by 970 feet east and west parcel of land, being an approximate 6-acre portion of land, being part of the north half of the south half, Section 18, Town 18 North, Range 8 East, Town of Coloma, County Road V. The applicant, please come forward. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Charles Holmes.
Charles, can you explain a couple things to the board here, or what you're proposing?
Yes, I'm proposing a zoning change, and what we want to do is create a explosive storage site. We're regulated by the ATF, the Chamber of Commerce from the state, and we're also DOT for hazardous materials. And what we do is we go out to rock quarries and mines and construction locations, and our trucks can only travel. The guys can only travel there, do their job. You cannot store the material on the truck, so we need a place to unload the materials at night and store our trucks. And the reason that this location is so favorable is because the I-39 north-south corridor and the Highway 21 east-west corridor will get our people to the locations we need and give them time to get their job done, come back, and put the materials into magazines and storage out on that site.
Okay. The committee has a few questions to ask. Committee questions?
Yeah, can you summarize exactly what the licensing you need and who regulates this type of licensing?
We need.
Yeah,
Would you state your name, both of you state your name for the record?
why don't
here?
you just, Chuck, introduce the other people you got here tonight?
This is Ryan Abel. He's the manager in Des Moines, our Des Moines location, and he is our safety coordinator. And the guy over here to my right is Mike Hale. His family owns the company. And Mike's in sales.
As far as the federal government, we need a explosive license from the ATF, federal ATF, for each location. And that would go through, of course, actually West Virginia. And then for the Department of Transportation, we work with two different agencies, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Through them, we'd have to get a hazardous material safety permit. You cannot carry any hazardous materials, period, whether it be diesel fuel, gasoline, fertilizer, anything that's a hazardous material, you have to have that safety permit. And in order to get that safety permit, you have to have a satisfactory safety rating from the Department of Transportation. And so those would be the license, not counting also Wisconsin. And what license?
Chamber of Commerce.
Department of Commerce. Department of Commerce. We would have to, they have a state license like Iowa does, blasting license.
They regulate us.
They regulate us, and then all of our workers, our drivers, our blasters would be individually licensed also through the Department of Commerce. They have an individual blaster's license, which right now, I believe we have approximately about 30 people already licensed in the state of Iowa. And I'm sorry, in the state of Wisconsin. And the big thing about the DOTs, you can only drive 11 hours a day and only work 14 hours a day. Well, the driving's not the big part for us. We might drive 3 hours and then work 9 hours and then have 3 hours to drive home, and we're over because you're at the core and you're doing that. And so we needed to get closer to the work that we already have and hopefully some potentially more work that we could get.
So how much traffic is going to be involved at this site?
It'd be in the morning. We come in and leave, usually around 5 in the morning to get to a job site by 7. We're going to start with 2 trucks probably, and then in the afternoon the 2 trucks will be coming in, and then obviously your employees' pickups, but in our other sites we have 10 trucks in each place, but those are, been established for 40, 50 years.
So you're going to have basically 2 types of traffic. You're going to have the truck traffic that's going to be delivering the product, which is ammonium nitrate basically. Okay, so it's a basically commercial agricultural fertilizer, but it's not used for those purposes. So are those delivered, semi, and then you've got the like vertical storage bins.
Red bins.
Yeah, kind of like grain bins kind of a thing.
Automatically out of the semi.
So you've got the semi traffic coming, and then you've also got the blasters, the workers who are going to come in a more standard pick up the product, go to the site, and then come back.
No, I'm saying just the traffic of the employees coming to the job in the morning, to the office.
Right.
But no, they're all these bulk trucks.
A straight truck, a dual axle,
I don't know if you saw
truck.
these, but like
Would be our trucks, and then the semis to start out would probably, if we had starting out 1 a week would be. If we have more than 1 a week, we'll be thrilled.
Yeah, and I know that's hard to predict because you want more because you want your business to grow. But you've got an occasional semi, and then you got the workers coming to site. But the trucks that they're going to use to take that product and go blast, you're going to keep on the site then.
It'd be like a tandem axle, big like
Gotcha.
auger trucks and stuff like grain trucks almost.
Right. Okay.
You plan on keeping the driveway open year-round?
Yeah, it'll be gated. We'll have a gate on the driveway.
We'll remove snow.
You operate year-round?
Yeah, we'll operate year-round, yes.
The winter time would be, of course, slow, just like a lot of our customers. But part of the ATF ruling is that every 7 days you must check your inventory to make sure that it's still there. And so even if it was closed down every 7 days, we'd either have to empty it out and take it to one of our other locations if everything shut down in Wisconsin, or we'd have to check on it every 7 days.
But our plan is to have full-time people, you know, we don't lay people off in the winter usually.
In the plan, you said you picked this location because it's close to both of the highways and no nearby residences. Is that the
Yes.
reasoning?
Just the central location, you know, there's business up north, you know, and there's Granite business, and then there's Madison. You can get to the Madison market, you can get to Milwaukee, you can get to La Crosse area where we do currently have business in Taylor, Wisconsin, and La Crosse area. So you can cover a lot of ground, I guess.
And part of the ATF regulations is you have to be 2,800?
2,275 feet from the nearest inhabited structure.
How many people do you think will be working out of this facility? I know it's a guesstimate, but
Probably to start 4. You know, we would hire, you know, 2 to 3 local people. We'd probably have to bring in it takes years to get experience and it's a technical job. So we'd probably bring in one guy with some technical knowledge and then hire some local people and train them to be blasters and go out and do it every day. And then, you know, hopefully grow our business. You know, like I said, our other locations, we have about 15 people at each one.
you're aware of all the state building codes, other state and federal requirements, and I'm sure you're going to meet them all. What sort of security measures do the state and the federal government require at this site?
The federal ATF is actually, you have to have it gated or guarded, and as far as it does not have to be fenced, but they take care of that security with the locks of your magazines. They're very strict on how the magazine is built and how it is locked.
The magazine construction is the main security. You know, they're thick steel with wood, you know, hardwood inside, and you have to have double locks with covers on them, and that's their main security. The ATF.
They go into pretty good detail about how they have to
it's
be
a
built.
detailed construction.
It has 2 locks, and they have to be hooded, so you can't get bolt cutters up in there.
And when we visited the site, Chuck explained that to us, and then he said if you get over a certain quantity, then there's spacing between the bunkers or whatever you call them.
And then you need 385 feet.
Right. And then there's certain security measures that you have to do to the vehicles too. I think you said about the wheel locks and.
Blasting agents or ammonium nitrate left on has to have the club.
Right.
Steering wheel lock and locked vehicle.
The company's been doing this for quite a few years in Iowa.
Yes. My grandpa bought the company in 1953.
Are you planning any sanitary facilities on site?
Probably to start, it would be a portable bathroom.
Any other additions or buildings planned other than what you've indicated in the site plan?
The towers in the office and some portable magazine storage facilities to start. Semi-trailers. A couple semi-trailers, probably.
What we're thinking about is we're going to put up a fertilizer storage tank, an emulsion storage tank, which is about the consistency of mayonnaise. It's a ammonium nitrate based product that is for use in water. Eventually what we'd like to do is have probably 2 tanks of each, so 4 towers, and they're all going to be located. When I met with you guys out there, we had it marked out where the towers will be. The reason that they're in that location, they need to be 2,000 feet from the highway and the 2,300 feet from the resident. And what we're going to do is double check that to make sure our distance is right. I just used a handheld GPS.
And the ATF checks it too before they give you any sort of permit.
Right, and I talked to people with the ATF. I could share with you who I've talked to, regulatory agencies. I talked to Matt Lack with the Department of Agriculture. And he does not regulate us because the fertilizer that we use is not used to enhance growth of plants. And then I talked with Bruce Anderson. He's an investigator with the ATF. The fencing is not required, but we are going to fence the immediate area in the center there. We're going to put some temporary magazines up. We're going to put our towers up. We're going to put a farm-type fence around and keep our trucks parked inside that. The ATF also, like the trees, are considered a barrier, so we wouldn't have to fence along the trees, you know. We just run the fence up to the trees. What they're looking for is that you couldn't just jump in a truck and drive off, you know. They said that, you know, you could have boulders, you could have ditches, you could, you know, berms, whatever. I called the DNR, and I talked with Barty O'Morrow. He's a waste management specialist, and they have no regulation over us. I understand that if we put in a septic system or anything like that, that we need, and if we disturb more than 1 acre, you know, we'll have to get some permitting through the DNR, and which we will. I mean, because we're going to put a driveway in, and we're going to put our towers up, and what we're going to have is an office trailer to start with, and some parking area for the trucks and that. Well, and when we put the permanent building in, shop, if the business allows us to advance to that point, then we'll have restroom facilities in there, and we will put them in accordance to the county. And I talked to Dave Risen with the Department of Commerce, and he said that he's right in line with the ATF, that he would be very interested in any explosion-proof lighting that we put in, whereas the ATF might not. He would hit things like that, you know, more so. He would check everything the ATF checks, but also he would cover any use of electricity or power units out on the site, you know.
This site is a lease agreement with the property owner?
Yes, it is.
And you've had the survey done on it?
Yes.
Because this is spot zoning, it would have to be shown that there is a good public good and benefit from the development. Can you summarize what benefits the public would be when this plan is approved?
I'll let Mike comment on that.
Well, I guess, I mean, we, like I said earlier, we'd hire local people, so jobs. We buy local things, you know, tires, truck parts, fuel, stuff like that. You know, you obviously pay taxes. So I guess there's some economic value, and I mean, we've been in business a long time, and we've always been a good neighbor, and we've never had any safety problems or anything with anybody that in the past, you know, since we've been in business. I mean, there was some letters of recommendation, I think, from our Mason City site. And so, I mean, we're just looking to expand our business and grow our company, you know. And
So I guess, you know, you provide this service in other areas of the county or the United States, the Midwest, and the reason that you're establishing this up here is because you want to expand that service and provide a service to the community, maybe not necessarily Waushara County, but you're providing a service, and it's primarily quarries and road construction.
yeah,
is
yeah,
that
we do the blasting. Obviously, I don't
Right.
know. You do the blasting, and they crush it and make
Right.
concrete, and
Sure.
asphalt, and gravel, and all that.
Right.
And we've kind of been working this way. You know, like I said, we're over into the La Crosse area and in southwest Wisconsin around Platteville. We do some work, and it was just I guess we wanted to be over here for a while, and we thought it was a logical next step, I guess.
Sure.
And you've worked with highway projects also, I'm assuming.
We we've never done in the state of Wisconsin, I don't think any, as far as you mean like road cuts.
Mhm.
Not in Wisconsin. We've done several in Iowa over the years, but not in Wisconsin. But we do quarry blasting in Wisconsin.
And have you talked with the local fire department and hazmat, the EMS, emergency management people in Watoma here?
Yes, I have. I've talked with the person representing the local fire department and supplied them with MSDS sheets on all our products. And then I talked with Lynn. She's the 911 coordinator here in the county.
Yeah, emergency
Emergency management.
Yeah. And we are required to contact the local fire department and the local law enforcement before storing anything.
And you said when you filed the application, you already talked to the highway department as well, correct?
Yes, I did. And we are sitting on County V, which may or may not be embargoed. And the county, the way I understand it, we can get a variance to run a truck on a case-to-case basis if we notify him and it's okay with him, you know. And he'll work with us on that. He said that there would be a fee involved. And the reason, or a lot of the reason, the location of the highways, but also the County V coming out of 21, it's great visibility both directions. I mean, you can see a good mile either way for the trucks to come on. The Coloma Farms has taken out that windbreak along V for their own safety because of the farm equipment coming on to V. So coming on there is great visibility. And so that for the truck traffic, you couldn't find a better spot. If you come, you know, there's a lot of places where it's wooded or hilly that would be a lot worse for us.
And if this gets approved, you'll start doing the improvements this spring? Is that the intention?
Yes, as soon as frost comes out or we're allowed to start, we'll be putting in footings and trying to get the towers up.
How long does it take for you to get your permits from ATF and Department of Commerce? You've got other similar depots you mentioned in other, like in Iowa and things like that. How long is it going to take you to get your permits, do you think?
I would think the ATF would probably be within 4 to 6 weeks, but they also need to come in and inspect the magazines, so we almost have to get the magazines there before they'll come up and inspect it, because they don't want to make 2 trips.
You can't put stuff in it, and then
Okay.
you need to get them situated, if I right.
Right. So he can
make
do
sure
his
their
distances.
distances and all that. And I guess, you know, I have all the ATF forms that I sent in to where at Washington D.C. or whatever and got it all, but I guess I actually you need an address.
Right.
So at this
Right.
point,
They have to make
I've got them sitting on my desk at this point.
Sure.
Okay.
That's all the questions I have.
Any other committee questions?
Are you gonna have an emergency number someplace, like the?
ATF requires that when you come into any magazine storage area, you have to have a sign posted, and it basically says, in case of fire or emergency, contact this number. And so then it's just a matter of what number we put on it. It depends who's here and who's.
Also, they require a sign with placarding to warn the fire department what's stored out there prior to getting to the site.
Which is another reason why the fire department would be very much involved with what you have out there. So they know what's in each building, what can be bought. If the office on fire, yeah, they can fight that. If it's a magazine on fire, get out of there. Don't even think about fighting it.
Okay.
All right,
That'll do it. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we have tonight.
Correspondence.
Wait a minute. Correspondence?
We have one letter in favor from the town of Coloma received February 3rd. It states the town of Coloma board has no objection to Quick Supply Company establishing a business on part of Coloma Farms property located section 18, County Road V, town of Coloma. The board feels this would be a good addition to our community. The board wishes Quick Supply Company success on their new project. Sincerely, Mark Kirschner, Chairman, town of Coloma. And that's all the correspondence we have.
Registered to speak.
We have one person registered in favor to speak.
Steve Dirks, Coloma Farms. State your name for the record, please.
Steve Dirks, Coloma Farms. You guys can't, short night tonight, which is always good, right?
Right.
These gentlemen came a couple months ago looking for property, and you never thought about it. We just happened to have a dry spot on that happens to be the right distance that is just dry land for us, and it happened to be a good fit. And we know in this country we're not going to get Walmarts and things, so anything that'll put 3 or 4 or have a possibility to put people to local work and help the economy is how we look at it. It's we've checked on the company. You know, they've got a good reputation for the work they've done. It's not going to interfere with our farming. We've made sure that, we've talked about that, so we'll be able to work around it without any problems. So we're looking forward to having them here. If you guys approve it, I think it'll be good for the area, and hopefully they can expand. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Steve? Okay.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Thanks, Steve. No one registered against?
Correct.
Staff comments?
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this application and the text amendments that will be considered next. For the record, we have provided a notice of tonight's public hearing to Lynn Baining from the Sheriff's Department, Emergency Government, Tom Dahlke from the Highway Department, Chris Hins from our Health Department has also been notified. This type of use requires a zone change. A zone change is a 3-step process. The town board has already formally approved this application. If it gets approved tonight, it then has to go to the county board, and then the zone change is effectuated. And so tonight's public hearing is, one of those steps. Also, because this is spot zoning by itself is not illegal or incorrect. The state laws are very clear that spot zoning is allowed. We just have to prove for the record that there's public goods served by the zone change, After 34 years, this job never gets dull. If somebody would have told me before the public hearing that we could have a second story proposed on a lake cottage and have 50 people in opposition, an explosive depot with nobody that shows up, I would have called him a liar. But I think it's also a testimony to the applicants that they did a very good job. And one of the things that it was brought up briefly, but in this packet of information that was provided to the Planning and Zoning Committee, there's letters from the local sheriff's department in Iowa, the county zoning administrator, and it's a very complete and thorough application. And I think the other thing is that it's also in a location that you'd be hard-pressed to find a more isolated location. So I really think they've done their homework. They've certainly showed that they have the ability and the knowledge to take a business like this and establish it and have it be a plus in the community. So I just wanted to say they did a good job, and I have no problems with the application.
If everybody would have done as well a job as they would have made your job a lot easier in the last 30 years.
That's right. I probably still have hair.
Is there anything else the applicants would like to add? Okay, thank you, fellas. Now, the next thing, text amendments.
Well, we also regularly, on a routine basis, look at all our proposed changes to our codes that we deal with, from septic systems to zoning and subdivision and everything in between. And every year we tweak the text a little bit. Although we did get a couple phone calls in the office, there's really nothing of any substance that is proposed to be changed. There's the two major things that we're looking at that is going to be considered is we're going to change which wetland maps we're going to be using to administer shoreland wetland, and our old maps from 1979 have finally been redone. And we now have a version that was done in 1994, but it took the DNR that long to get them digitized where we can put them on our county computer system. So we're changing the wetland maps from the 1979 to the 1994 sets. The other thing is we're changing a little bit how we deal with plan review of commercial buildings, but the rest of them is just basically clean up, language change to correct some things that we found problems with over the years. They were discussed at a business meeting, and again with text amendments, it is similar to a zone change. If it would be approved tonight, it then has to go to the county board, which would be in March for their consideration. And that's all I have.
Okay. All right, any other discussions? Okay. We'll move on into our business meeting.
Now, when you approve the Okay, I have an amended agenda, so when you get to that point, I have amended agenda to hand out, but you can go ahead and follow the
Well,
order there.
roll call showing everybody's here.